Hello there. This is our second episode of Greenfoot Live, so welcome, whether you came last time or not. So my name is Neil Brown. I work on the Greenfoot team.
And I am Amjad Al-Tadmuri. I also work with Neil in the Greenfoot team as well.
Yep, so welcome. So today Amjad's going to give a brief recap of what we did last time, and then I'm going to talk about what we're going to do this time.
So last time we started this series, so we started with the function which is API we added recently to Greenfoot, which is show text, how to present or show, for example, use it to show a score on the screen easily without any like a lot of knowledge about the objects, etc. So if we have inside the space class, we can just with a simple instruction we can just say show text and then just
move it across a bit there, so we can turn ourselves off for a moment, can't we?
Okay. So that's okay. If you can just pass 3 parameters, the text that you want to show and the X and Y coordinates for it, and it will be shown on the screen. Today we'll talk about, we'll continue discovering new techniques to show things on the web as well, and I'll hand to Neil.
Okay, so do you want to put us, so we're doing some hardcore pair programming here. Amjad's got the mouse, I've got the keyboard. So if you want to put our little image back on the screen there. Okay, so what I want to go through today, last time as Amjad said, we showed how to do one way to do the score, which was using this show text method. I want to today go through another method of showing score by using a different function call, which will allow us to sort of create a scoreboard at the end of the game that's got a different font size and different color if we want it. So we discussed last time that show text allows you to easily put text on the screen, but you can only say here's the text and here's the position. You can't then say sort of what size you want or tweak the appearance in any way. So we're going to display a new scoreboard at the end, and in Greenfoot generally, if you want to display something on screen, apart from this show text method, in general it's got to be an actor. So in the Greenfoot world, if we swap to the main display, so in Greenfoot the background is the world, so ours is called space, and you can see that we've actually given it an image which is the stars, and then everything else you can see in a Greenfoot world, apart from this show text which is slightly special, is an actor. So that rocket there is an actor, those asteroids are an actor, and anything else you want to display is an actor. So technically you could paint something on the background, so you could sort of paint an image on the world itself, but the world is always underneath everything else, and that looks a bit weird if all your sort of actors in the world are appearing on top of whatever you want to put there. So we don't want it on the background on the world, we instead want it on an actor, so that it's actually displayed in front. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a new scoreboard actor and develop that in order to show our text on the screen. So if you remember, the way to create an actor subclass in Greenfoot is you right click on actor and say new subclass. So we get up this dialog here, so it wants the name of the new actor, so I'm going to call it final score. Okay, and you could also pick an image, but actually we're going to deal with the image ourselves directly, so we don't need to pick a specific image. So we can just say final, just leave it blank basically. So that gives us a new class there, as you can see, called final score, and now we're going to do a bit of coding in it. So Greenfoot gives you this template by default. I think if we just move it across to the right, then it won't overlap, so that should be fine. Okay, so Greenfoot gives us this default template, and so we've got this act method here, which will run some code every act. But actually our scoreboard is a slightly different actor. It doesn't need to change its display necessarily every single frame. We just need to set it up once, and it will just display the same thing throughout. So what we're going to do is we're going to write a constructor up here. So if you remember, the way you do a constructor in Java is it looks a lot like a method, but it has no return type, and the name is the same as the class name. So as you can see, the constructor name here is final score, which matches the method name final score just up above. So then within this, we want to, as I say, programmatically change the image. So to do that, we'll, I think I've lost focus. So there we go. So there is a call in Greenfoot called setImage. Okay, and if I write that in, it's going to complain at me because it's going to say, okay, setImage requires a parameter. So we need to pass it a new Greenfoot image. So Greenfoot image is our image class that we have in Greenfoot. So every actor, its image also is of type Greenfoot image. So we now need to remember how to actually create the Greenfoot image involving some text. So whenever you want to sort of look up what API calls are available in Greenfoot, there's a way to do that from the main menu. So if we switch back to the main Greenfoot window, which is just buried behind here, under the help option, you'll find that there's an option, Greenfoot class documentation. And when you click that, then you'll get displayed the Greenfoot API. So API is really just a programming term, which means what sort of classes and methods are available to us. And as you can see, Greenfoot image is one of the options on here. So if we click on that, we can look at what's available. At the beginning here, the constructors are listed. Okay, so let's have a look through them. Top one allows us to basically make a copy of another image. So this is useful if you sometimes want to take a copy of perhaps your original image and then maybe draw something on it. So maybe you've got some sort of spaceship or something, you want to draw some damage on it by kind of adding a few more pixels. You can make a blank one by passing in the width and the height. You can load it from a file name. So this is useful often if you want to sort of restore your original image, or you want to maybe load it up and change some pixels on it. And there's the ones I'm really getting to are these bottom two. So as it says there, it allows us to create an image with the given string, using the given font size, and those two colors as the foreground and the background. So this is what gives us more control than we had when we were doing the sort of show text method. So if we go back to our code, so it's going to be string size and then foreground and background. So our string for now is just going to be score. So we'll have to wire it up later to actually put a number for the score, but we can come back to that. Okay, and then it was the font size. So I don't really know what's good, but we'll just pick would you like to pick a number for font size?
20. 20,
okay. So we're going to pick 20. And then we just need some colors. So if I remember, it was the foreground color. Okay, so we've got a black background, so I think white's going to show up. But just to see what the background color does, let's put in red, shall we? It's going to see what happens. Okay, so that looks good. So let's see if it compiles. Yep, okay. And the nice thing about Greenfoot is that to test this actor, we don't actually need to play the game, get to the end and sort of display the scoreboard. We haven't even wired that up yet. We can just right click on it, as Amjad's doing there, and just drop it in. And as soon as we construct it, we should then see the constructor gets called and we get the image. So that's what it looks like. So quite small at the moment, so we might scale that up. And as you can see, the text itself is in white, and then the red bit sort of fills the rest of the rectangle for the background color. We probably don't want red. So, but at least we know what it does now. Always good to experiment and see what happens. So I think, is there a transparent?
Yeah.
Well, we'll give that a go. So transparent. Okay, we'll still put white as the foreground, and let's whack that size up. Just try 80, shall we?
Don't have transparent.
Don't have transparent, okay. So I think the way we can make transparent Maybe we should add transparent.
I think so.
Nice thing about doing these.
Thank you for asking for this feature.
Yeah, you know what you're missing. So if I remember rightly, we can make a transparent color by passing in 4 zeros. So that's red, green, blue, and something called alpha. I don't want to get too far into it this time. We'll maybe do that a different time. But alpha being 0 should make it transparent. So let's see how that pans out. Oh, that looks much better, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Much better.
Okay, so that looks about the right kind of size. We'll stick with that for now. So we've got our score on the screen, during our testing at least, but yeah, we need to actually wire it up into the game a bit. So let's leave the scoreboard class aside for a sec, and if we go into, I think it was space, wasn't it?
Space.
So last time we had a discussion about where to store the score and where to put it. So if I just, as we see here in the add score method, we've got the score variable, which is keeping track of it, and we're using that to do the show text. And we actually have, as it happens already,
just switch off the camera because it's hiding some text. Yeah.
okay, so we just need some more space here to show what we're doing. So if we go down here, there is a method here called game over already, which gets called whenever the game is over. So this is the point at which we want to show the scores. So to add an object to the world, we can just check that with our code completion, but there's a add object method. And to that you need to pass the object you're adding. So that's going to be our scoreboard. So we're going to make a new scoreboard, which is called final score. And then we need an X and a Y position. So I think this is that the top left?
Yes.
The top left of the image. So we'll experiment a bit. Let's say 200X, 200Y. Let's see how that looks. Okay, now this time around we are going to have to play the game to test it, because that's when game over is called. Oh no, actually, thinking about it, should we put ourselves back on for a sec? So thinking about it, we can test it by checking that game over gets called, but you can also just right click on the world in general and call methods on it directly. So game over method is a method of the world. We call it, we get the score pop up there. It's a bit to the left, but on the other hand, we haven't quite finished yet. It's going to get wider, isn't it, once we actually add the score to it. So maybe we'll do that now and then see how it looks. So if we go back to our code, we need to bring that on screen, don't we?
Yeah.
A bit more. Okay. So back in space, weren't we? No, you're right. You were right. You knew what I was meant to be doing. So let's go back to final score. So we've got here the where are we? Up here. We're just saying score at the moment, but obviously what we want to do is display the actual score. So we want to actually display the score. Now this is going to give me an error because I've just said, okay, let's put the score on screen, and the compiler is saying quite sensibly, there's no such variable score. So we need to pass the score through from space to final score. And whenever you need to get a variable through from one class into another, you need to pass it as a parameter either to the method you're calling or to the constructor that you're calling. So we're going to have to put in a constructor parameter here which passes us the score. Okay, so this makes final score correct, but if you're very eagle-eyed, you'll have seen that space has now received a red underline up on the top, and that's because, having said we'll need a parameter for the final score constructor, we've now caused an error in space because it's not passing a parameter yet. So here we need to pass in the score parameter, which is also called score. And so one thing that can be a bit confusing during programming is we've got a score parameter on the space side called score, and we're passing it into final score's constructor, and we're also calling it score. And some people can get a bit confused and assume that because they're named the same, they somehow magically line up. But that's not the case, so we can prove this perhaps if we go to final score. We can name it something totally different here. Any suggestions?
Your score.
Okay. Okay.
Final score.
So if we name it here our score, then we'll get this error because we're using score here. That was fine while it was named score. We've just renamed it, so we've caused a problem. So we have to match here. So in final score, the ones here, our score, as we call it in the constructor parameter, and when we actually use it, has to match. But if we now go back to space for a second, then back in space, it's still called score, and it's all consistent within space, called score, and we pass it through to final score. So what I'm trying to get at here is, it doesn't have to be the same name on both sides. The key thing is just that whatever you pass to final score here gets named on the other side, our score, or whatever final score's called it. So although by convention, score, you're going to name it score every time, it doesn't have to be named the same on both sides. It's not doing anything to match the names up across classes, just as long as it's sort of consistent within each class. Okay, so that's a slight diversion, but what we've done there is we've actually hopefully made the score itself appear on the screen. So when we come back to the Greenfoot main window, it always does its recompilation, and now we'll need to call the game over method again here. Okay, so now we've actually got the score coming up, which is 0. And in actual fact, if we right click on the world again, then we've got this add score method. So we can call that for testing, can't we?
Yeah.
So when we call that, we get asked, oh, it's just popped up on our other monitor. Okay, here it comes. So it's asking for an amount of points. How many points would you like, Amjad?
Let's be generous. 100?
Okay, 100 points for Amjad, rewarding himself. Okay, so that's changed the score in the world, and as you can see in the top left, it's actually changed the show text bit. But when we called game over, that constructed the score once at the time and passed it in. So the way we've got them arranged now, the score 0 is from the first time we called it, and because you just pass it once and then it created the image, it doesn't update. When we called it a second time, we've got score 100s. They did actually appear on top of each other there, but Amjad has dragged it out of the way, so we can see the both of them. So if we reset, we'll go back to 0, and everything back to normal. I guess we should probably play the game, shouldn't we, to have a bit of a test. Okay. Okay, do you want to play?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go for it.
Okay. Can you mute it?
That's it.
Okay, that was probably as loud for you as it was for us. We have now muted our sound. Apologies if we just blew your ears off. So, okay, that gets the score. As you can see, I scored an amazing 10 points. If you remember from last time, 10 is the minimum. So you get 10 for doing anything. So we've got 10 points up there. Okay, so that gets our scoreboard up with our constructor. You could also customize a little bit further with the image if we go back to our code for this final score class. So somebody's asked in the questions there, how do you add an outline in the text? In actual fact, I don't want to hop us around too much, but if we go back to the Greenfoot window and look for the class documentation again, then we can have a look at that. So okay, if we look at Greenfoot image. Okay, so the constructor we're using, we're using the fourth one down there, which passes the size and the two colors for foreground and background. There's also another one here with one more color as a parameter, and that's an outline color. So maybe we'll have an experiment with that. you think of an outline colour that we can use?
Grey.
Grey, okay. So yeah, you want to go for it. So the one we're passing there is transparent background, if you remember, and then MJ's just going to take over. So grey. Let's see how that works out. Might be American spelling.
Okay.
Should we try grey? Okay.
Yeah. Now to work.
Okay. Yep. When in doubt, when programming, US spelling.
And if we add some points again, let's say more generous this time, 500. No, sorry, should plot this one here. And okay, then if we press game over, it will show us 500. But gray is not very good color with the this background, so maybe we should change it. And back to you.
Yep. So red is always a good bet if you want to check if something's working. Red's pretty noticeable, so we'll try some red again. See how that pans out. There you go. You can see that a bit better.
Yeah.
So it's got score. I think red has a slightly retro feel.
Yeah.
A little bit 80s.
Yeah.
Around there. So outline text, just as a general design thing, is quite useful because it helps it distinguish from background. So if you've got a very busy background, perhaps in your game with all sorts of different colours on it, outline around the text can just help it stand out a little bit better. So you use an outline colour that's different from the main colour you're displaying. It just helps it stand out. We were lucky here. We've got a mainly black and grey background, so white stands out very well because it's the opposite colour. But that gives us, sort of a much more noticeable outline around it. So I'm pretty happy with our scoreboard.
Yeah.
So it's looking good. So that's how to do it manually. We've also added something into Greenfoot to help you do scores a bit more easily, and Amjad's just going to talk you through that feature.
So if you click on edit, then import class, or use the shortcut command on Control I, you will have this dialog which contains many of the what we call them helper classes. We put them there to help creating more advanced features or something. So if you go for the scoreboard here and import it, it will be added to the scenario under the actor, because it's actually, if you double click on it, it's actually inherit from extends actor. So when you open this one, you can notice that it extends actor, so it behaves as an actor in the word already, so you can use it directly in the word. The only issue, if you are using Greenfoot 3.0, forgot.
3.1.0, I think we are at the moment.
Yeah, you will have, when you import scoreboard, you will have you can see an error here because we changed the API and this class wasn't shipped the updated version. So you just go to the new color and instead of true, pass 0, 0, and then compile, and it will be ready to be used. If you want to see how it looks like, again as we did before, just right click on it and create a new one. It will ask you, when you place it here, it will pop up a dialog which says this is a constructor for the scoreboard. You have to decide the width and height, so you select.
Okay, so it says something about a minimum width of 600, so we'll go with that, and 400 might be a bit big on our screen, but on the other hand it's okay if it fills most of the screen there.
So it was a little bit big for the scenario that we have, so we may want to maximize the space a little bit.
World a bit bigger. So if you remember in Greenfoot, the way the size of the world is set is in the constructor. So in your constructor,
you select.
You pass the size. So we've got quite a big screen here, haven't we? So let's say 1000 by 600.
Good.
pixels.
So
Let's see how that works.
If we go back to the scenario and just click on it,
better,
it will
isn't
be compiled and reset by itself. So we can just add the scoreboard again, a new object, a new scoreboard object. Say new. Again, it will ask us. Come on. Okay. It will ask us about the width and height, and again, it will be in the another monitor.
Always on the other monitor. There you go. That's a feature for us to sort out, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know how many of you are using multiple monitors, but we're doing it for this broadcasting.
I think 600 is minimum. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's say what did I have last time? 600 by 400.
Yeah. If we go for it, you will find that you can put all the players here and near you. This is just made like this for you. You can customize it. You can use it. You can if you double click on it and go into the scoreboard, you can see what constructors you have. What is it?
Yeah.
It's the main one is the width and height, but you also can change a little bit on it, or you can just use the methods, which is better way for doing it. Just try to call some methods from the objects or in the space itself. If you go to the world class in the game over, just taking some time, I was opening a lot of windows. So the game over is at the end, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, we just need to drag it just to make that visible to everyone.
Yeah. Okay, so if we, in the game over, instead of adding the final score that we just created in this today, and use the new one that we just imported.
So that was scoreboard, wasn't it?
Yeah, scoreboard, and you have to pass the width and the height. Yeah.
Same place.
Yeah, so just to comment this out and compile. When we play the game, now if
Okay.
play
Let's see if I
better
can
than me this.
get some points. More than 10 this time.
Good.
Oh.
Now, because we added in 200, and this one is bigger than the actual that one, so it show up actually a little bit of the world. So we have to after we pause it, we just see how much it's off. If we take it a little bit, discover okay, it was off.
I
Not
think maybe.
that much. So we can
Does it have some code that centers itself? Because that's strange. Let's explore.
yeah.
So
No. Oops.
okay, let's see what this class does. Yes, that's fine, isn't it? What's further down? Things we put it 200, 200, which is the top left.
Yeah.
No, or is that the center? Am I forgetting? Hang on a
Of
minute.
the object itself, it's the center of the object from the world. From the
Yeah, you're right.
world
Yeah, so
top.
it's the center.
Yeah.
But actually, when we were adding our final score class, because when you add it, it's got an empty image. I think that means the center is the same as the top left, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whereas here, I specified the 200, 200. I think it was the top left, having forgotten, and it should in fact be the center.
So what is the dimensions of our world is 1,600. So we'll go for 500, 300.
Yep. Bang in the middle.
500 and 300. Okay, if we just go to the where's the mouse? Hello.
Vanished. It's over here. We're
Okay.
playing Hunt the Mouse Code.
Okay, so if we reset again and just try playing a little bit with it. Yeah,
There we go. Okay.
exactly in the middle of the screen. So it's the best options is just to pass the x and y is the half of the width and height for your space. Now we want to use the scoreboard more effectively, so we want to call some methods in it. So we have to draw user panel or just add
that's
score.
the private method, isn't it?
Yeah.
This, if you go
Up for the public method, which says
no, I think this is using our user info class, I think.
yeah.
So this is maybe the subject for a whole.
Yeah.
Maybe this could be our next session to go through some of the user info stuff. So we have some built-in functionality to actually keep your scores over many sessions in Greenfoot. So if we go back to the class documentation.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, of course it's open in that window. So if we click on the user info class, so there are details here about how you use the user info class to do some scores. So what I suggest is that maybe next time we'll go through this in more detail. If you're interested in the meantime, obviously you can load up Greenfoot, take a look and explore yourself. But otherwise, maybe I think I'll make a good topic for next session, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and if you have any questions in the meantime, or you have any suggestion for the new topic, you can also just comment out in our channel. Thank you very much for watching.
Yep, thank you for coming, and we'll be back 2 weeks, same time, to do some more Greenfoot Live.
Goodbye.
Okay, bye-bye.